So thank you for joining me here at Why the Book Wins, where I compare books with their movie and TV show adaptations. Today I am talking about the book Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, published in 2016, and I'm comparing it with the TV show from 2024. And this show was adapted by Blake Crouch himself, so as soon as I saw that in the credits, I assumed we're going to get a pretty faithful adaptation, and 3 episodes in, that has been the case. So I think if you're a fan of the book, you should definitely check out the show, because so far it is very faithful to the book. But not only is it faithful to the book, I have been impressed with the production. The acting has been solid, and even though, because I've read the book, I know what will happen, even so the show still has kept my interest, and yeah, I've really been enjoying it. So if you're a fan of the book, you should definitely check out the show. And if you have not read the book, I would recommend you watch the show as well. But I would say that you should go into the show knowing as little as possible. So don't watch any trailers, don't watch any videos for it, don't watch the rest of this video, just go watch the show, because I'm reading the book for the second time right now. But back when I read it for the first time, I went into it knowing absolutely nothing. And that is just the perfect way to experience this story, when you have just no idea where it's going to go. And I will say that I do feel like this book could have been adapted into a movie. It did not need to be an 8-hour or 9-hour TV show, but that is personal preference, because I feel like 98% of books do not need to be a TV show. Most books can easily be adapted into a 2-hour, 2.5-hour movie, whatever, and it's fine. 2 exceptions to this would be East of Eden. There has been one miniseries already, but I would love if they did a new miniseries of East of Eden. That would be fantastic. And then of course Count of Monte Cristo, which they are adapting into a Netflix limited series, so I am very excited for that. And that book makes perfect sense for it to be a mini series because it's over 1,000 pages, right? So yeah, those are 2 exceptions off the top of my head. But like I said, majority of books, they don't need to be a TV show. I'm just not a fan of when they drag things out so much. So yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Having said that, I have been enjoying the show, like I said. But from here on out, I will be getting into the details of the plot as far as episodes 1 through 3 goes. If you do not want the rest of the show spoiled based on my knowledge of the book, don't worry, I am not going to spoil anything beyond what happens in episode 3. And I am planning on making one of these videos every 3 episodes. So there are 9 episodes in the show, which means there will be 2 more videos that I will be doing. So stay tuned for that and subscribe if you have not already. So like I said, the book and movie are very similar so far, but for those who don't know the basic gist of what we have going on, we have Jason and Daniela, who have been married for 15 years, and they have a 15-year-old son. And so back when they had been dating, Daniela got pregnant unexpectedly, and so they decided to get married and raise the baby together, and this choice caused them to each sacrifice their careers. Daniela had been an aspiring artist and Jason had been an aspiring scientist. And while there are times when each of them maybe are envious of the career success of others, and maybe there's part of them that wonders what they could have achieved if they had the opportunity, at the end of the day, they still have 0 regrets though, because they love each other, they love their son, and they love the life they have created together. But one night early on in the story, Jason is walking home at night when he is kidnapped by a man in a mask, and he is drugged and knocked out, and when he wakes up, he is in a facility where people think, they call him Jason, but in this world they think he is a Jason who is a big shot scientist. And it turns out, just to jump to what is going on here, so Jason from this world, Jason from the world where he is a big time scientist, he had created a box which is the gateway to the multiverse. But the Jason from this world, and I'm going to call him Jason 2. So Jason 2 is the big shot scientist who invented the box. He creates the box and it works, and he decides he wants to use this to find the world where he stayed with Daniela, because Jason 2, when Daniela told him he was pregnant, he was like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. My career is really important and this can't happen. And so he and Daniela split ways. And now 15 years later, he regrets that choice. And so he wants to find the world where he stayed with Daniela and experience that life. And so that is what he does. And that is why our main Jason is kidnapped, because he did make the choice to stay with her, right? But Jason 2, he justifies his actions because he's like, hey, and this is specific to the book. In the movie, we don't quite get into this, but in the book, Jason 2 is like, hey, I'm helping this other Jason. I'm giving him a chance to see what his life could have been like if he was super successful and rich and achieved all of his dreams, you know? So it's a win-win situation in his mind. But our main Jason, he does not want to be in this world where he is a big successful scientist, and he just wants to get back to the world where he is with Daniela and his son Charlie. However, when he first arrives in this world, he doesn't realize what's going on. He wakes up and he's just super confused, and he is in this facility called Velocity. Velocity is the company that Jason 2, like they are who funded Jason's project. He wakes up in this facility and he escapes, and then he tracks down Daniela. And the Daniela in this world has become a successful artist. And when he's talking to her, she tells him like, 15 years ago, we parted ways. We decided not to have a baby together and we broke up. And he ends up spending some time with Daniela because clearly she can see something is off with him. But while they are spending time together in her apartment, people from Velocity show up and they shoot Daniela, and then they take Jason back to Velocity. And the reason they shoot Daniela is because the box had been under wraps. No one except those with Velocity knew it existed, and they can't risk other people finding out. And so they shoot Daniela. And so when he gets back to Velocity, he realizes that he needs to pretend that he is Jason 2. And so he pretends to be Jason 2. He's just like, man, like the box messed up my memory. Can you just explain to me what happened? And so this is how he finds out about the box and that it is, the gateway to the multiverse. And this is when he puts 2 and 2 together. However, Velocity then realizes that he is lying because Ryan, an old friend of his, along with Daniela, he had also told Ryan his situation and how he doesn't know what's going on. And Ryan had called and told Velocity this, thinking he was helping in some way. And so they lock Jason up again, and then they kill Ryan. However, a psychiatrist who works for Velocity named Amanda, she does not agree with these extreme lengths they're taking in order to protect this secret, and people are dying. And so she breaks Jason out, and then the two of them go into the box to escape. And then episode 3 ends with them in the box, and we just see this endless corridor of doors leading them to different worlds. And so to get into Jason, one of the bigger changes with the TV show is with Jason 2, because in the book, while we're dealing with our main Jason, we cut back and forth every now and then to Daniela, and we see how she is noticing how Jason is different in just these various ways, and she's noticing that something is off with him. But that's all we get, and they're just these really brief snippets. Whereas in the TV show, we cut back often to Jason 2 as he is taking over Jason, our original Jason's life with Daniela and Charlie, and I'm really enjoying this. And part of it is because this was not in the book, and so it's something new to me, and so I find it more intriguing, but I do think it is a good change, and I'm enjoying seeing him try to fit into this world, which is so different from his own. And we also see him go to the storage unit he has where he has a ton of supplies, because clearly he had been in this world for a while and was like setting up shop and getting ready before he ultimately kidnapped Jason. And we do get a scene where a few days have gone by and Daniela is like, what's up with you? Like, I like the change, but like, what's going on? Like, you're not your usual self. And he tells her like, oh, that night I got home late. I was almost hit by a taxi and my life flashed before my eyes. And now I have a new appreciation and a renewed love for you and our life together. And she accepts this as his reason. Whereas in the book, he does tell her this exact reason. However, he tells her the very night he comes home. He's like being more lovey-dovey. And she's like, what has gotten into you? And he tells her that he was almost hit by a taxi. So in the book, it's the same story, but he tells her it right away. And so far, the stuff with our main Jason who got kidnapped, that has been mostly the same. But in both, it takes him a while to realize what is happening. And on one hand, he seems kind of dense, right? Because even our main Jason, he is just like a physics professor at a college. But even so, back 15 years ago, he had been working on a mini cube to do the exact same thing that Jason 2 has now achieved. And so our current Jason, he was aware of this theory and like the possibility, but he hadn't been able to achieve it because then, his life changed and he never really got too far with it. But he is aware of this idea, right? And yeah, it just seems to take him so long to figure it out. But at the same time, I guess it makes sense, right? Because for him, even though he's aware of this theory, for him, it's something like so insane and something that can't be done. So of course, he's going to be super resistant to believing it, and he's going to try to think of like any other possibility. But in both book and movie, when he connects with Daniela from the art show, as they spend time together, there's a point where she asks him about their life together in this alternate universe he comes from. And this was one of my favorite scenes in the show. I was just so sucked into the moment where he is sharing this life with her and just like how bizarre the situation is. And I thought the performances here were especially good. Yeah, it's not like one of the bigger moments in the show. It was just one of those more tender moments between these two people. And yeah, something about it, it was working for me and I was feeling it. And yeah, it was one of my favorite parts of the show. But then one last thing, speaking of relationships, in the show, Jason too had been in a relationship with Amanda, the psychiatrist, the one who goes with him into the box. And in the book, she does go with him into the box as well, but in the book, they were not in a relationship. But also in the show, while he is with Daniela, she takes him to go steal some of his notes from his apartment. And so he is at her apartment going through his notes, and it is when he is with her that he realizes what has happened, and he realizes what Jason too has achieved, and he is able to tell her this. And so he realizes the truth when he is with her, and they're able to talk about it. Whereas in the book, he doesn't realize what's happening until after Daniela has died and they take him back to Velocity, and he pretends to be the real Jason, and he's like, can you just like jog my memory? Like, what's going on? And that is when he realizes the truth of everything. But to talk about Ryan, who I did touch on here and there, but in the world where Jason is not successful, Ryan had won the Pavia Prize, which is this prestigious scientific award. And Jason had been at this celebration for Ryan when he was on his way home that night. And in this world, Ryan is just very arrogant and condescending towards Jason. And specific to the TV show, when he is at the celebration for Ryan offers him a job in San Francisco. And so Jason tells him like, oh, like I need to think about this. And then he goes home and he's kidnapped. But he tells Jason too about what happened because Jason too asks him. And so when Jason too is with Daniela, he tells her like, you know, Ryan offered me a job, but I love my life here with you. And at one point he finds out that Ryan had called Daniela being like, hey, have you guys talked about the job? And Jason too is very upset about this. And he calls Ryan and he's like, you know, don't talk to my wife. I don't want your job. I like my life here, and you overstepped by calling Daniela, basically. And Ryan does end up being invited to a dinner party Daniela and Jason too host, and at this party Ryan and Jason too kind of make amends, but clearly Jason too really does not like Ryan. Whereas in the world where Jason is successful, Jason is the one who won the Pavia Prize, and then because of this, Velocity reached out to them and they were like, hey, we'll like fund whatever project you want. And so that is how he was able to create the box. And also in both book and movie, Jason reaches out to Ryan to create like a chemical compound for people to take when going into the box in order for it to work. But he does not tell Ryan why he needs this compound. He just explains what he needs. And so he's kind of a jerk to Ryan in this universe where, yeah, he pays him well, but he just keeps him in the dark. And so in this version, Jason too is the one who is condescending to Ryan. And in both book and movie, when Jason is telling Daniela about how he was kidnapped and he woke up in this world that isn't his, Ryan was there too, and that is how Ryan knows about this, and then he calls Velocity and tells them. In the book, Ryan was there with Daniela because the two of them were dating, whereas in the TV show, Ryan and Daniela were just good friends, not dating. But yeah, in both, Ryan ends up dying in the end because Velocity kills him because he knows too much. And to talk about Velocity, we see more in the TV show as well from Leighton, who is the founder, or his father founded Velocity. And we also have a scene where the cops come and talk to Leighton and Amanda about Jason too, because in this world, Jason too had been missing for 14 months because that's how long he was in the box. But like I said, the box is under wraps and like nobody knows about it except, you know, people within Velocity, and they don't want people to know about it. And so the outside world just thinks Jason has been missing for over a year. And there was also another employee who went in the box and never came out. And so the cops also asked them about her as well. Whereas in the book, we do hear about how Jason had been missing for 14 months and about how another employee went in and never came out. However, we don't see any repercussions from this, and we never see Velocity be questioned by the police. And then one final thing I wanted to mention, this book was definitely giving me It's a Wonderful Life vibes, you know, because we have Jason too, who realizes the successful life isn't what he had thought it would be, basically, and he just wants the simple life where he's with Daniela, you know? And also just the theme of don't take life for granted, and your life has more meaning and purpose than you think, kind of a thing, even if you don't have worldly success. And so yeah, the book was giving me It's a Wonderful Life vibes. And then the TV show has a scene where Jason too, he's in his world with Daniela and he's going down the stairs, and the banister post, the top of it is loose. And that seemed like a nod to It's a Wonderful Life. And so I did think that was a nice subtle touch. But yeah, I guess that wraps it up on my thoughts on episodes 1 through 3. Even though I assume the rest of the show will play out very close to the book, nonetheless, I am curious to see the remaining episodes and excited to see what happens. Of course, like I said, I feel like some things are being dragged out a bit too much just because it's a TV show and it's unnecessary and it could have been a movie. But again, that comes down to personal preference. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Let me know how you feel about TV show adaptations versus movie adaptations. Let me know if you read this book and what you thought of it and what you think of the TV show so far. Also, it made it seem like when I was looking at this on IMDb, it made it seem like this is season 1 and there might be a season 2. So that'll be interesting. I am curious to see how they will extend the story beyond what happens in the book. But yeah, anyway, that is Dark Matter episodes 1 through 3. Stay tuned. In the next few weeks, I will release my video for episodes 4 through 6. And I do have a book review video from when I read this book for the first time, which was last year. So I will go ahead and link to that video here on the screen if you want to hear my thoughts about it at that time. And in that video, I do get into spoilers if you're curious how the book ends. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.